Hi guys, itch on my chin already. Today I'm going to be doing some functional art for you, and I wanted to show you something really cool that I figured out. Maybe somebody else has figured it out too, but I don't know. I figured it out for me. So sometimes you know how you have a painting that you like most of the painting, but not all of the painting. So you get disappointed because what are you going to do now? And maybe you've already, oh, I got itchies today. Maybe you've already poured over this canvas a couple times, so you really don't have any other choice with it, either to throw it away, but maybe there's a small part of it that you like. So this is what I did. Let me bring you down. I just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and hope you had a nice holiday. Christmas is coming fast now. Crazy. All right. Okay, so this was a painting, and this is a little trinket box that I got, I believe online. Hobby Lobby has a mirror, has compartments. I painted it with just some Artist Loft acrylic white flow paint, a couple coats. Haven't done the bottom yet, but that is the brand. So, and what I did was I took a painting that I didn't like, most of it, but I loved this section of it. So cut that out, measured, it's 5 1/4 in this box. And the reason I'm using this box in particular is because it is really hard to find a 5 1/4 tile. So that's why I came up with this idea. The first time I tried to pour in it, like do a bloom and move that around, and it worked okay, but not great. So then I came up with the idea for the canvas. All right, so I'm going to put that aside. Really pretty. We'll get back to that in a minute because I'm going to show you the resin part on that. And I have already glued it down, and I did paint behind the box because I didn't get this cut real good. So there's little areas that you can see on the edge. So I painted the inside too. That's always a good idea anyway, just in case. All right, so here is my painting that I'm happy with, but not entirely happy with. There's certain areas that just got muddy and yuck, and so it's just a regular canvas. This is one of those that I poured on that's made for pouring. It's got the cardboard in the back. So I'm not sure how I'm going to contend with that yet, but I think the canvas will still come off easily. So what I did is I took a piece of my paper, cardboard that you get on your canvases, and I used the plumb edge, which is the edge that they cut, because that is always going to be your most even cut. So I took the corner of that and I measured out 5 1/4, made my little dots here, 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 and then drew my line and then cut out that edge, just the one edge. So that way you only have to cut 2 edges also, and you make sure that it's nice and plumb. I didn't do that with the first one I cut, which is why it's a little off. The nice thing you can do too is once you've cut that, keep it, because that'll be your template. And you can use that over and over and over again. When I cut that, then I realized, it'd be nice to be able to move it around on the canvas and see what will be the best cut. And you can't do that with paper. So then I took a piece of, this is an old file folder that I had for scrapbooking. It's pretty hefty weight. And I cut that. So now I'll have this as my template if I don't lose it. So, and it's really nice because you can move it around on the canvas where you see, your best areas that you want to cut out. All right, so I'm liking right there. It's got some really pretty stuff going on up here, pretty cells and lacing. I wanted to get some of that middle because I think the middle is really cool. So I'm just going to put it where I want it. Okay, and then I'm going to take a pen. If it's white, you can use a pencil, and that way you can erase, but this is darker, so I need to use a black ink pen. So I'm just going to go around. This was done with primary elements, so it's going to have some really... Be careful when you're drawing around that the plastic doesn't flip up, which it just did on me. I'm not sure I'm going to use this for anything, but just be careful when you're holding it down. All right, so I got that. So then what I'm going to do is take my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to cut around it, like bigger. And sometimes the canvas, when you get a lot of paint on it, is going to be kind of thick. So you may have to like lift it up and cut. And don't cut bigger than what your markings are. So yeah, and that canvas is not stuck to that cardboard, so we're going to be fine. Okay, I'm going to cut. And I'm going to cut the rest of this out with scissors, just because I like scissors better. Okay. I really loved that corner up there. It makes me sad to cut into it. But again, this is just a way to use old canvases that you just want a piece of it. Okay. Voila. There you go. Pretty on the back. So that is your piece you're going to be working with. And then I just take the scissors. I like to work with scissors better. I just feel like I have more control. And you're just going to cut on that line. Try to get rid of the line so it's not in your piece. I'm doing this kind of fast, so just for you guys. When you're doing it for reels, make sure you do it nice and careful. Okay, make sure I can see that line. So there's your piece. All right, and then it's going to fit right in your box. Okay. It's a little big, so you can go back and trim off a little bit till it fits in there snugly. And then you're going to glue it down. I glued mine down with some Gorilla Glue. And there you go. You have your nice little resin piece that once we get the resin in there, will look like a tile. So I put the Gorilla Glue on the canvas. I always do that with my cork too. That way it's exactly where you want it, and you can get up to those edges. Make sure when you push it down that you wipe off any excess glue that might be in there. That one's really pretty though. I might have to keep that one. Pretty, pretty. All right. I have to order some more of these boxes now that I know I can do this. Okay, so I have that glued down. I'm going to mix up my resin. I use Stonecoat Countertops. And this is the art coat because I don't need to put anything hot on it. So I'm just going to get some of my tools out of the way here. I use the epoxy if I'm making coasters or trivets or anything that you're going to put something hot on. But if it's just for canvas or like this, you can just use the art coat. So I'm just tucking in a corner I saw there sticking up. Okay. And I have a couple extra tiles laid out just in case I have extra resin. Because my clear cups I have, you know, that's the bottom line. So I'm only mixing to the bottom line, but I may still have extra. And if I do, then I will have a couple extra tiles I can do. Just getting my gloves on. Okay. I am going to put a clear coat on this too, so I'm not super worried about getting drips of resin on it. If you are, you can tape it off with some, here's the little tiles. These are just little bloom tiles that I did, experiments, came out nice, so I just have extra of those, and eventually I'll have a set. I can do them, sell them as 4. All right, so yeah, my lines on my cups, I always count up the lines and make sure you get them even. They don't look even, but they are, because they're just to the bottom line. I always mix the thicker one first, which is the resin, because it, well, which one do I, yeah, I want to mix the thicker one first, because the other one is easier to get more accurate up to whatever line you're getting to. So if you over pour, if you over pour on the first one, then you can over pour a little bit on the second one too, just so you know where you're at. Sorry, allergies today. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to fill up to that line. This resin goes by volume, not weight. So you want to make sure you have equal parts. And I'm never worried about a little bit more in the thicker, in the resin cup, because it's harder to get out of the cup than the runnier one. So okay, and I'm just going to get up to that line and stop. So we filled up to the line with the resin, and that one looks like it's pretty, yeah, right on the line. So then I can take my second one. Oh, and by the way, I made this mistake the first time. Don't take these lids off and put them aside together unless you know the white goes on the resin and the black goes on the other, because if you do get them mixed up, you'll never get them off. It'll be very hard to get them off. So I take them off as I'm using them, and then I put them back on. All right, and here's the second cup, and this one's much runnier, so I can gauge it better as to when it's getting close to the line. The other one kind of glops in, so it's harder to tell. Okay, we're still not there yet. A little bit more. And no, we're not there. It's hard to see when the cup is sitting on the table. Okay, so perfect amount. We've got the same amount in each cup. Let me put that back on. And then I'm going to take another cup, usually a bigger cup. I have to get a bigger stir stick here. I like the bigger stir sticks because they don't hurt my hands as much when I'm stirring a lot. Okay, that one will work. Okay, so I've got my big cup. So first I'm going to pour in the more liquid one. I could have done it in one of these smaller cups, but I like to pour into a completely clean cup, and I didn't want to get up and go get another clear cup, so this cup will be way too big, but you get the idea. Okay, I think we got all of that out. Make sure it's out. My stick had some black paint on it. Let's see, I want to get one that's not dirty. There we go. I reuse my sticks over and over and over, so they sometimes have paint on them. I have hard time finding clean ones. All right, so here's the thicker cup, so we're going to put that in. You can see how gloppy it is. It just kind of glops in there. Pay attention to your temperatures on your containers. Because if it's cold where you are, you're going to need to warm this up a little bit of warm water on the bottles, and that'll warm it up. And try to get as much of that thicker one out of the cup as you can. You're not going to get it all, but you need to get as much of it as you can, because this is by volume. So all right. Now, when I'm stirring, I make sure I get the sides. Everything that flows down the sides, you got to make sure you get that mixed in. Mix really good. I'm getting messy. So see how I'm going around that top edge rim? Scrape your stick a couple times, because you need to get all of that incorporated. If it's not incorporated and you go to pour it on something, then you might have issues. You might get divots. It won't dry smoothly. It won't adhere. It'll be sticky when it dries in certain areas, so you don't want that. You want to make sure you really stir it up good and get the sides. And yes, you're creating a lot of bubbles, but you have your torch, so that's what your torch is for. Get those bubbles out. All right. I'm going to pause you guys for just a minute because I'm going to keep stirring, and this takes 3 minutes to stir. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Got my resin stirred up. I put down a clean puppy pad, piddle pad, so that I don't get resin on the bottom of the box because I spilt a little bit. I wiped this down with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. Go over it quickly when you're dealing with paint that you have not resined prior, because if you go too slow or you go over it again, the alcohol actually makes the paint a little bit sticky. So you're going to get paper towel bits in there like I have in here that I don't like, or a string or something. I don't want that sticking up. So let's get rid of it. Okay, it's just a string. And it doesn't want to go. All right. So my coasters that I have over here, I'm just gonna wipe those real quick. If you take your time, then you're gonna get lint in there. And if I was to go over this again right now, it would grab whatever lint is on that paper towel from the paper towel. So just once over, do your sides, and done. And they dry quickly because it's alcohol, so you don't have to worry about that. All right. So this is the first one of these I've done with resin, so this will be interesting. But it's only on the top. I don't have to worry about, I need to get some more gloves on. I don't have to worry about what the back or the bottom is going to look like. So we're just doing on the top. And I have a little popsicle stick here that I'm going to help guide it. I'm going to pour it in the middle, let it spread a little bit. Okay. All right. Got my resin all mixed up. Ready to go. So we're just going to pour a little bit and let that spread out. I don't want to get too much in here, so get a little bit more. But I do want to fill this up. So I want it to be just to the edges. So I'm just going to push with my popsicle stick over to the edge. Just grab that edge. Be careful not to get it outside of that edge. This resin is self-leveling, so once you get it to all of your edges, it will self-level. If you get resin on the outside, you can just wipe it off with the alcohol. I can always go over that again with another coat of white paint. And I am going to use probably polyacrylic on these just to seal them and give them a little bit of shine. But you don't have to with acrylic paint. Acrylic paint is like a sealer itself because it's plastic. So now you guys can go through all of your old paintings and you can see what you might want to salvage out of that pile. You can glue them down to just wooden plaques if you want and put a coat of resin over. You could cut out a circle if you want to do a circle on a clock. I've got some clocks that I'm still not happy with, so I might do that with those because I've already poured on them 2 or 3 times. I don't want to do it again. This has about 45-minute curing time. I think it's 45 minutes too. Not curing time, but working time. So you have time to work and be careful with it, especially on something this size because it's not very big. Okay. Looks good. I'm going to put a little bit more in there. And because it's already to the sides, it should spread. I don't want it to go over though, so I have to look from the sides and just make sure that it's not going over. And this will be really pretty when it dries. I'll show it to you guys when it's dried. Let's give it a torch. when you're torching, good to wear a ventilator, or, you know, just make sure you're not right underneath that flame. And if you kind of look at it from the side, you can kind of see in the glare if you still have bubbles that you want to get. I have a little bit of extra resin here. I'll get that off. Again, that's just my little alcohol wipe. Oh, look at how pretty that is. That's going to be so gorgeous when it's done. Oh, I can't wait. And it looks like I'm up to my edges everywhere. It has a little bit of a dip. I might put a little bit more in there. Not the end of the world if it has a little dip, but if you have extra, just keep pouring till it's kind of, you don't see that dip anymore. This one had some primary elements in it, so it's going to be really pretty. Really sparkly. I'm just going in with my X-Acto and picking out if I see any fuzzies. Don't want fuzzies. I don't want to pick it up and tilt it because you don't want it to run everywhere. I still have some resin over here, so let's get that. I mean, like I said, not the end of the world because I'm going to, I hope that doesn't run now. I'm going to be putting a polyacrylic. Try not to break that seal when it's right up to the edge like that. All right, I'm pretty happy with where that's at. I do have some leftover resin, so I'm gonna carefully move this out of the way. I'm probably gonna have to pop bubbles a few more times. Careful when you're using the torch not to get too close to the resin or stay there for too long because you will burn it. And it's not pretty. Been there, done that. So, all right. I'm going to set this aside. I think I'm okay. Carefully. And like I said, I will show you that when it's done. And here are my two coasters. So let's get some resin on those. All right. I think I have enough for both of them. So what I do normally when I have a big production of resin to do, I just pour my little puddle on all of them and let it spread out. And then I go in with my hand. I'm just doing my finger because they're little. And spread that out to all of the edges. It will self-level, but it's a good idea to make sure all of your edges are covered. And wipe down the sides, or wipe the sides. Again, to make sure you have coverage. You get them all wet, and then when it drips, they'll get covered. I usually do 2 coats on these, so I don't worry too much about the first coat. Because whatever I didn't get on the first coat, I'll get on the second coat. And second coat, you just use your 220 grit sandpaper and alcohol rub, and you're ready to go. If you are within the 24 hours, you don't have to sandpaper them. If it's under 24 hours, you can just pour right on top with this resin. I'm not sure about all resins, but with this one. All right. Then what I do is I usually torch. I torch several times. I don't worry about drips until the very end because they're just going to keep dripping. So then what I like to do is a little trick that I've learned is I take my leftover and I wipe it off, get some on there, wipe the bottom edge off on your cup, and then I run it over the corners and along the edges just to make sure that those have gotten covered. And usually, not this time, but usually I can get it to go all the way around. But just make sure those edges and those corners are going to get covered. Because the edges and the corners are the hardest parts to get a smooth coverage on. And I have this down to kind of a science because I've done it. My X-Acto is in the way. I've done it so many times that I just kind of second nature now. But you want to be methodical when you're using resin. Don't be in a hurry. Don't have other things going on. Be in a still room so you don't have a lot of fibers running around in the air. Don't be underneath a fan. Make sure all your fans are turned off. Okay, so I got all the edges and corners. I'm going to go over those again. And then when I go to put them in my cabinet, I have a cabinet for the little things. And when I go to put them in my cabinet, I just lift them up and look at them from the side in the light just to make sure there's no air bubbles, to make sure there's no lint. And that's when I do the drips. I just rub, usually with my hand, just to get the drips off underneath. And I do have these taped. They are taped on the back. So always make sure, even if you don't have them taped, when you pour them, before you resin them, make sure you tape them. And make sure you really rub that tape in there because I've had a few that I've forgotten and it is not fun to have to drill those drips off. I use my Dremel. You can get them off, but if you forget, but try not to forget. Try to get all of your, okay. Try to get your tape on the back. Canvases, tiles, whatever you're working on. I use the blue tape. I like that one. And I've gotten smarter. I've gotten the thicker one. Just makes it easier to cover more space. All right, and our box looks good. I'm going to give it one last torch. I got to find a place for it in the cabinet. Because right now I don't have one. I just did a whole bunch of resin. Trivets, so. And see how the color just pops on those so much more when you get that clear coat on them? So pretty. All right, guys, that's your video for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing does not cost you anything. It is free. It just means that you're following my channel. And hit that bell when you're there so that you get my notifications when I upload a new video for you. And there's some more functional art today. I'll be showing you more. I think I'm going to be doing another video, have a commission for a client on a canvas. So I'm going to be doing a painting. All right, guys, have a good week. I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.